What's going on? We are back at it again with another episode of Team Chats with your boy Brett Owen and James Gillespie. And today we're going to talk about honoring your commitments. Now, when we say honoring your commitments, we're not talking about your marriage, but you should probably honor that too. What we are talking about is the agreements that you set up for yourself on how you're going to play, what you're going to track towards, what you're setting out to do. There is too much leniency and too much compromise that we do, and we see some clients doing sometimes on the goals that they state that they have. So, Brett, give a little backstory on why this is even pertinent to you, to us, to this time of year, and then we can kind of rock from there.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of dive right in, I mean, like doing hard stuff and having to deal with, you know, stuff. Sometimes there's going to be a lot of things that you don't want to do that you're going to have to break through that mold and within yourself, your capacity to work or your capacity to deal with those hardships is going to have to change and it's going to have to grow. Otherwise, you're not going to make any improvements. So I think that there's a lot of expectation going into something where it's like it's beautiful. At the beginning of it, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna lose this weight, or I'm gonna fix my marriage, or I'm gonna whatever it is. And it looks great because you're projecting forward, you're looking forward into it, but you don't really consider the journey that it takes to get from where you're at now to where you want to be. And like I mean, like you just mentioned, I see it in my own clients' journeys where I've had to sit down and talk to them, and they're just like, I don't know how to make this work. This is really difficult, and things like that. And it's at a certain point, it's like, yeah, it is. How are we going to get through it? I mean, like, you and I both listen to a lot of Hormozy, but like he talks about it too, is like, um, you can be anxious and you can think about all these things that are really hard that you have to do. And at the end of the day, I mean, like you sit there and you can tell yourself how hard it is all the time, but like, yeah, it's hard, or yeah, it could potentially completely fall apart. What are you going to do about it? You know, we got to continue to move forward. So I don't know. I feel like in my own life, I'm sure you've gone through some of the same struggles in yours, and just seeing these kinds of things in my clients' journeys is just it felt very pertinent and important to talk about that today.
It is not always sunshine and rainbows. In fact, most of the time it is not. And Alex parrots this, and so do a lot of other people. And we probably stole it from a Stoic somewhere.
Yeah.
That 30% of all of your days are going to be the worst 30% of your days that you've ever had. Because statistically, that makes sense. Does that mean that your life is ending? No, sir. Does that mean that you're doing something wrong? You might be, but that might just be your conscience. But no, sir, not outright. Does it mean that you have to change everything because it's not working? No, sir. Sometimes you're just going to have to be in the shit. You're just going to have to be in the thick of it. You're just going to have to wake up unmotivated and work out. You're just going to have to wake up annoyed and still love your wife or your husband or your girlfriend or what have you. The same way that when you take a shit, you wipe your ass, right? Even if you're not motivated to wipe your butt, even if
Hmm.
you're not motivated to brush your teeth, you do it. Why? Because the pain of staying the same. What happens if you do not do that is far greater than what happens going through it. And
Yeah.
so the actual phrase I've lost the verbiage one to one on what that is, but I will say that it's funny because we expect hey, I want to make this amount of money, or I want to be this fit, or I want to be this body fat percentage, or I want to be this strong, or I want to do this amount of muscle ups, or I want to be balling like this and have these material things. But that's cool. That's cool, but it's just lip service if you're not willing to do it even when it sucks. If you're not willing to
Hmm.
do it even when it's not fun. If you're not willing to do it with your cortisol up. If you're not willing to do it when you're not you don't have an erection for running around and doing business, which is unfortunately, guys and gals and whoever else is listening, most of the time
Hmm.
you're not motivated. And
Yeah.
if we do just wait until we're motivated, Well, you'll be dying with a lot of dreams still on the table that you never touched. And also, if you only do it when it's easy, you're not going to go very far.
Mhm.
Not going to go very far at all. So I think actionable insights are very important here. So in your life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh man, how do you stay more compliant on your protein? Because I think that's important. But let's talk like bigger concepts here. What do you implement on a day-to-day basis to make sure that when you do get caught with your pants down there, where it just sucks to be where you're at, how do you keep moving? What are the three things that you do to keep moving?
Three things that I do every day, or three, like, what do
No,
you?
no, just when you get overwhelmed, just when you get in the shit, just when you get to the place where you're like, I want to stop
Uh,
this crap. I want to be done with
yeah,
this. I'm sucking right
yeah,
now.
yeah. I mean, one thing that I love doing and I promote to everyone, and I think probably 90% of my clients do this now too, is journal.
Mhm,
Writing it down, sectioning it off. And I mean, you and I have talked about this. You've helped me with this a lot too, but writing a line down the middle of the page and splitting it up with the things I can control and the things that I
mhm,
can't control, and focus on everything that I can control today, what I can do right now to alleviate some of this stress. That's what I focus on the can control side. On the cannot control, I have to just put that away. I can't do anything about that. It's just going to be there. I just have to deal with it. And eventually it's going to either work itself out, or I'm going to be able to do something to help kind of move that piece along. So a piece of, or one of the things that I love to do is journal. Another thing that I love to do is leave my phone at home
mhm,
and just walk outside. Go
mhm,
be outside. And when I go outside, I try my best. It's sort of a meditative thing to just not think about all the things that I'm dealing with. This is after I've written everything down. I walk away, stay like, try and get out of my head, try and focus on just like the wind blowing on my skin, or the sounds
mhm.
around me, or maybe the tree that I pass by or something. Just be as present in that moment as possible. And then three, I do remind myself, I repeat it in my head a lot. And this is another Hermosi thing, but I repeat it in my head a lot, is if you just zoom out far enough, you can't even see the earth. So at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff that we're freaking out and stressing out about, it's really not as big of a deal as we think. And I mean, that's also, in the Stoics, I think it was Epictetus that said, like, we're only the most anxious in our minds, or we're only anxious in our minds or in our imagination. A lot of the stuff that we're stressing out about really doesn't have that much validity or importance a lot of the time. Not all the time. There are some things that do, but a lot of the time I find myself especially stressing out about stuff that really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think those are solid. So we've got journaling, we've got walking, and then what was the third?
Just repeating to myself that, like it's really not that important, and a lot of this stuff, like, a lot of it can be in your imagination.
Yeah, I mean, I have a mentor that I've had since I was a kid. Former special operations, right? SF was a Green Beret, and now is in federal law enforcement. About to retire here soon. So he's done like 20 plus years dealing with just in some regards scum, right? And something that he said about selection that he's told me many times in life when I've been up in arms about shit is that there is no pain that can last 1,000 years, nor a body which can sustain it. Either the pain will end or you will die. That is literally it. You don't have control outside of that. So you either decide that you're going to do it in the face of it, or you roll over and you quit.
Mhm.
Your call. That's it. No other options, right? Because it will subside. And if it doesn't subside, you won't be here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
honestly, if you put things into perspective and you take that, Google Earth zoom out view, you missing your protein goal today doesn't matter. You missing your steps today doesn't matter in 5 years. You not hitting one workout this week and not getting optimal volume to grow your biceps doesn't matter this week, right? Getting back on it tomorrow and not judging yourself for the one time you miss is the important part. Doing a little bit today, exercise, snacking, getting some steps, doing some calisthenics before you go to date night with your lovely partner, okay? those things can happen. It doesn't require you to go to the gym. You're not restricted to getting on the air bike. You're not restricted to only having iron to use. There are things that you can do to reset. And I'm journaling is definitely cool. I think when I was in a position where I was not sure about where my life was going to go and where I wanted to go necessarily, I did a lot of journaling. I don't do as much journaling now. I really just set the phone down and go walk.
Mm.
No intentional stimuli put back into my life. And what I mean by that is I'm not listening to music, I'm not listening to audiobooks, I'm not on the phone, I'm not talking to anybody. Same thing, leave my phone here and just go walk. That's been very beneficial. That's an action item for me. Number two is is repeating that phrase. Like it will give at some point, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
Right. And then number three is like I wouldn't know. And it's another like kind of just a mental model. But I wouldn't know what bad felt like if I didn't know what good felt like.
100%. I was going to say that too.
And so to have one, I have to have the other. And if I want one, I have to accept that the other is going to happen, or I can
Hmm.
never truly have the one that I want. So
Hmm.
I used to view bad or view stress and, frustration and what have you with a frame that it was like the worst thing ever, right? And I used to kind of conflate sadness and like me seeing sadness in people as depression. I just don't think it's the same. I think sadness is normal, dude. Like happiness, right? Like frustration, like anger. They're natural human reactions. Doesn't mean you need to hyperfixate on them. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
that we need to make them bigger than they are.
Hmm.
Sadness is not clinical depression. Okay. Like happiness is not isn't that it wouldn't be clinical euphoria, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not that deep.
And we don't, it's not only that we don't need to make them bigger than they are. I mean, we also don't need to push them away or avoid them or ignore them either. That's one thing that I tell all my clients. I mean, I talk to myself this way. I have people in my life that are very close to me where I'm like, if you need to cry or if you need to get angry or something, that's okay. Do that, feel that. Don't let it control you. And two, like you have to control that. You have to feel it and you have to be able to control it, but you also should not make any kind of rational decision while feeling those things. Let it pass, feel it, and then move on. And then whatever decisions that you need to make, that's when it's time to make them.
Yeah, I mean, foundationally, you can't make a rational decision when you're that emotional, anyways,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
sleep on it for sure. But I think,
Mhm.
I don't want to get too much on a tangent. I think that disappointment and the valley of despair, they're like, oh wow, I thought this goal was going to be so cool and it was just going to be so easy. I think that that's the wrong expectation to have. And
Yeah.
as it pertains to us on the fitness side, on the coaching side, on the nutrition side, on compliance, if people just accepted that sometimes it's going to be shit and you need to show up anyways, sometimes coach is going to ask you to do something that you don't want to do but it's in your best interest to do, and sometimes you're going to have to do it even if you're not motivated to do it. If we had that expectation going in, I think a lot of people's journeys would be different. I think people would hit
Mhm.
goals faster over the long run if you zoom out far enough. I think also people would be more compliant and people would also be happier with what they're doing because they would show up and complete what they said they were going to do. Right. But
Yeah.
you got to have those tools to use when you get overwhelmed because we both know the best time to do something is not when it's easy or not when you have all the free time in the world because that's when your life is easy. The time to start something is when you're busy so that the next time you get busy, you can do it.
Yep.
Final
Absolutely.
thoughts. What you got?
I actually had a thought. Oh, yeah. So what I was going to say was just, the pain of giving up. I mean, I've seen this in my own journey too. Like knowing that if I stop right now, the pain and all the hard stuff, it'll go away, but it'll be a whole lot, the pain of not doing what I'm doing and not pushing through it and dealing with the hard shit and becoming the man that I want to be is so much more painful than me just sitting in it and dealing with it and moving through the motions as I go and trying to problem solve as best as I can through the trenches and through that valley. If you can just hang on, It's so much better than just giving up and quitting, because you're just going to be right back here at some point,
Mhm.
and you're just going to want to hit this goal again at some point. It's just going to keep, you're just prolonging that stress and that pain. You might as well just sit through it and move on, just keep
Yeah,
going.
you might as well do it once and do it now
Yeah.
than get rid of it and then have to do it again, right?
Yeah,
And also, I think that the something that's not talked about is you give up in one domain of your life like that, it bleeds over. It absolutely bleeds
it
over.
does.
To you giving up on relationships, to you giving up potentially in certain regards on your mental health, give up on substances, give up on, other things in your life and that's not beneficial to anybody, right? You owe it to the people that want to spend time with you to be the best that you can be, right? Because they're giving you their most precious asset, right?
Mhm.
And people will say time, some will say attention. Either way, right? They're giving you both. Okay. So being at your best is important.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like you said, like not doing it bleeds into other aspects, but doing the hard work and being better leads into other things too. I mean, like I've seen it in my own life, in my marriage. I mean, when I started doing really hard shit that I didn't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
everything got easier. I got stronger, I got better, and I was able to handle a lot more because I was willing to put myself into those situations.
Yeah, man. Game changer. Well,
Truly.
we are back at it next week. We're going to continue to record these podcasts, get back on the horse. You're going to see more testimonial clips from Brett. You're going to see more clips from us on the pod, more archive content that we've already recorded also coming out, getting back on the promotion game. It's been a wild couple months, but we're pushing. We are here. If we can help you, let us know. Facebook group is probably the easiest way for you to get either of us answering anything at any time. But if you need some personalized help and you don't want anyone else seeing it, hit us in the DMs and we can rock from there. Is that a good thing for you too?
Sounds good, dude.
Cool, man. Well, we'll end it there and we'll catch y'all next week, man.
Peace.